Yo, One Piece chapter 1121. This chapter gave me goosebumps, man. That's my immediate reaction after having just read it. Because, like you get this far into One Piece and you do find yourself more than once wondering, like, what is the One Piece? Like, they've been hyping this up for so long, and now it's like it just raises it up even further because as you go through this, you find yourself in a way kind of, going back and saying like this had to have been how all the people who heard Roger's speech before Roger died, how they felt. Vegapunk with his recording, low-key might have just started something. It might have been a self-fulfilling prophecy where he said that this is a new era and the people that are seeking out the truth are not going to bow down to oppression. It kind of feels like he kind of lit the match himself. And I don't know if that was intentional. With Vegapunk, it might very well be intentional, but this was a beautifully crafted chapter. Like this kind of reminds me of what you had with Andor when you had Senator Mon Mothma's speech. Vegapunk's speech is kind of like that for me. Like, I got chills when I went through Mon Mothma's speech, and it's kind of the same thing here. I got chills reading what Vegapunk was saying. Like, especially having reread the chapters before I got to this one, it just flows so naturally. Like, oh man, I don't know how they're gonna do this in anime. They got to break it up into multiple episodes. But if you were to like just clip out everything that Vegapunk said and put it into one long speech, and like I know somebody's probably gonna do this when this gets animated, but like you clip out Vegapunk's speech and then you just overlay it over all these moments in One Piece where you got the world government with the oppression and the warlord system, what happened with Nico Robin's people, and just all the other atrocities. This could be something beautiful. Oh man, this could be beautiful, man. I gotta hurry up and catch up because I really want to engage with the community on this one. So getting into it, so we open up the chapter and you see more of the battle concluding. You got Luffy. He's giving instructions on how to fight Saturn. He's letting Dory and Brogy and the other giants know, and Bonney know, like, man, do not touch those legs because those legs, those pincers, they're poison. You don't want to be struck by them. And as Luffy is beginning to fight, Luffy, he notices that Bonney has this look on her face. She's in that pseudo Gear 5 transformation too. And as Luffy's wailing, that's when Bonney jumps up in the air. And Bonney just prepares to let him have it. And Luffy's encouraging her with it. And this is one of those times where, as I'm seeing this, from a writing perspective, I like it. Because if anyone deserves to play a role, if this is indeed how Saturn goes down, if anyone deserves to play a role in the downfall and defeat of Saturn, it had to been Bonney because of everything that's happened that can be directly traced back to Saturn. And if this is not the end of Saturn, Bonney needs to take his scalp later on. So that's where we switch over and we get more of Vegapunk's speech. And he's basically saying the day's coming where all the hidden information from the Void Century is going to come out. You guys are going to learn. And you got to keep in mind that the sinking of the world's continent, it was a man-made disaster. And I like how as he says that, we get the look at Shirahoshi. I kind of stand by it. Like Fishman Island and Skypiea, I know based off of what patrons have told me in the Discord server, what I've read in some of the comments, there are a lot of people who don't like those arcs. I feel like those are going to be two of the most important arcs in One Piece, especially Fishman Island now. And as he talks about how those are man-made disasters brought about by war, he also kind of points out that those are weapons that were made by someone's design. So now we go right back to with Frankie and Tom and all of that information there. Like Oda stringing everything together for one giant melting pot. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, Luffy with, I don't know how Usopp would fit into this, so let me put the disclaimer, but it wouldn't surprise me if Luffy, with all the people he had on the Straw Hats, all of them, knowingly or unknowingly, might end up having some kind of a connection to, say, like a key as a part of a puzzle towards putting all this together. Because it does kind of feel like Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates, they aren't randomly put together. This is a intentional choice. It almost feels like they were brought together by destiny. And it does make you go back to Aokiji saying, I've never seen a crew with this much potential before. Now, this is where we then shift over and we get more of the looks at people that have been affected, because Vegapunk talks about how the world government has it out to try to obliterate certain races. And that was something that I did wonder about. Like, why these specific groups? Now we're starting to get some information. This is one of those things, like, this is a chapter, I'm not going to do it, but like every now and then in One Piece, it gets to a point where something big happens and you get a reveal like this, and it just makes you want to go back, at least me, and reread the story and just re-experience it with the benefit of hindsight. That's part of why it's taken me so long to get caught up on One Piece, because in my wildest imagination, I never expected it to be this deep on lore, this deep on world building, and then be this interconnected. Like, this is insane. You see everybody from Kuma to, you get the stuff with Whitebeard where he's talking about how this used to be a land where gods were put on here. Then you see King. Then you see Pudding with the third eye. And you see how Pudding is starting to put the pieces together as she's listening to it. And then you have that shift over and you see Luffy, and they're saying, oh my God, it's Nika, but it's really, you're seeing Bonney as she's going through and she's wailing on Saturn. And I like that transition. That was very beautiful by Oda, to transition from all these races that are basically at the target list for the world government. And then you have Nika, the sun god, Luffy embodied here. And it just kind of shows, like, Luffy is the one that is the page turner, both figuratively as well as literally, with the way that this is paneled. Very intentional by Oda. Like, it's one of those things, I've always said it. When I first started reading One Piece, I kept going, that's gotta be something done by mistake. But then I kept noticing patterns. And I'm like, when it's a one-time thing, you go, okay, that's accidental brilliance. When it keeps happening over and over and over, that's when you go, okay, totally intentional here. So I thought that was really nice to see that. And then you then shift over and you get how Bonney is recalling the information that she saw when she saw her father's memories. And she's saying, like, look, like, you're going to pay for what you did to my father, what you did to my mother. You people are not gods. And what I like here is that she shows the emotion. She shows the emotion and she says, there are times along this journey, and I'm paraphrasing, but she's like, there are times along this journey where I long for my family. I wish we could have lived happily ever after just a little bit longer. And it makes you realize what was robbed from her. And that's one of the more heartbreaking things, because while she was able to have her own memories of her father, she realistically doesn't remember her mother. And that's completely heartbreaking. But to know that the world government robbed her of both of her parents, that's where you have to look at that and go, if anyone has a right to basically take down Saturn, one of the 5 elders, it had to be her. Now, I know, like, there are people that won't like that from a power scaling perspective, but I feel like from a payoff perspective, this was the most beneficial. And so I like how you get the double team attack by Bonney and Luffy. They go through and they're just hammering Saturn to the point it looks like his body literally exploded. And I like how Vegapunk, as that's going on, Vegapunk's narrating and he says, like, I want you guys to watch out for yourselves. And as he says that, again, very intentional, we see Iceberg. And then he then goes off and he shows the idea of, like, I believe in science. I believe in the intelligence of mankind. And I want you guys to think about this. Roger died 25 years ago. Blackbeard died 2 years ago. That's not by mistake. The fall of these legends from that last era, that's going to give rise to this new era. And he says that these people, they're going to refuse to fall under any suppression. They're going to fight back. And I like how, as he says that, one of the panels we see is Luffy as he's laughing in that Gear 5 form, and he's so carefree, and just the symbolism of it Luffy, that's liberation. Like now I have interest in Dragon because he's part of that revolutionary army. And I feel like with the way that Vegapunk is talking, this has to be Oda setting something up for Luffy's father. Because we don't know much about him. Like him and Shanks have the two biggest red flags, and yet they feel like they are two of the most, obviously they're two of the most important characters, but like Dragon showing up in this arc does make me sit there and go, who is Dragon? Like we know, but we don't know. Like what led to him getting so radicalized where he's leading that revolutionary army? Like what did Dragon see? We oftentimes we focus on the what happened, but we don't necessarily take a look at why it happened, or more importantly, how it happened. That's the most important question. How did we get here? I don't care what Dragon's doing in the present. I don't care what Shanks is doing in the present. How did we get here? I used to think that Shanks was just going this route because it's like, oh, I was on the King of the Pirates crew and I wasn't able to go to the final island, so I just want to kind of prove myself. Now, with all this extra information, it does make me sit back and say, there's a how here. I think for Buggy, that's just Buggy's arrogance. Shanks and Dragon, the how. Oda's hiding something. I don't know what he's hiding, but he is hiding something. And Vegapunk's words, that just makes me really think about it. And it's because of the framing, because he says that the people who are closest to the truth, ironically enough, are the ones that perhaps Roger would have sent them. And then we get his stuff about how like the One Piece is out there, but then you get Rayleigh, who is completely asleep. Rayleigh trained Luffy. It's one of those things like, I kind of see where Oda's going. Like, I don't necessarily care about the different reactions where you get Blackbeard's crew. I do care about Shanks' crew, but then you get Buggy, and then you interestingly get the Marines saying that this can't happen. We got to find the One Piece first. The One Piece, I wonder if there's something that is tied to the world government. And if it is tied, it would explain why Rayleigh and the rest of them basically went and did their own thing after the fact. It would explain why, again, they killed Roger. Like, you kill pirates anyway. But to publicly kill him that way, he found out something he wasn't supposed to. And I like that last spread, and it just shows you everyone from Shanks to Kobe to Akainu to Dragon to Emu, Blackbeard, Buggy, Sabo. It's one of those things like, I look at this and it kind of feels like battle lines. And I'm going to say like that feels very interesting. And the reason why I say that feels very interesting is because when you look at it, you could either divide it on the top layer where it's Buggy and Blackbeard, Luffy and Shanks versus everybody down below. Because I kind of feel like there's a subversion of expectations coming. I don't necessarily want to say father and son might be on opposite ends, but One Piece does swerve us. There might just be 3 different factions going after the One Piece, going after the truth. All of them having their own different ideals. I do think that Akainu and the Navy, they're playing with fire. You can't trust Emo. Now, the other thing, though, I do want to know, because I don't recognize one person in here, the one underneath Dragon. And I find that interesting just because we don't see the full profile, so I can't tell who it is. You just see the nose on down, but he's got the sword. So is that Mihawk? But he would show Mihawk. So, like, Oda's cooking something. I don't know what Oda's cooking up, but he's cooking something. Maybe what we're seeing is like, again, strange bedfellows. Luffy and Shanks on one side, Buggy and Blackbeard on the other, Sabo, Dragon, Kobe. No, not Sabo, Dragon. Sabo, Akainu, not Akainu. I am messing up. Sabo, Aokiji, and Kobe on one side. Emu, Dragon. Well, see, that's what I mean. Like, I don't. I'm gonna let that go. I'm not gonna theory cook on a. I'm not gonna theory cook on a reaction, but I do want to know from you guys, how do you guys see the final battles kind of playing out? Because I feel like Oda is setting up another war. I feel like that's where this is going. Let me know how you guys reacted when you got to this part in the story. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Click here on the left to check out more videos from Everything One Piece Explained, like that Nico Robin video, or click here on the right to check out my journey from chapter 1, going chapter by chapter as a blind reaction to One Piece itself.